I'm going to start recording. Okay.
Yeah, Brian, I'm going to leave it to you to record.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll take care of it since your
Thank
situation apparently doesn't like you very much.
No, me and technology are not friends.
That's okay. Maybe give everybody a couple more minutes to join, or like one more minute. All right, we can go ahead and get started and let people trickle in if they want. Thanks for joining, y'all. So this is the special interest group panel, and we have a handful of students that are either members of, leading, or just whatever, have a bunch of different involvement at CASE that we thought would highlight some of the really unique and special opportunities that you all could have at your fingertips to get involved with and yeah, get access to if you come to CASE. So yeah, we'll start off with introductions. So I think most of you have probably heard from Allie and I at some point throughout the day, but Brian Bangs, M1. Yeah, career changer Ben Arrow. So Allie, if you want to quickly introduce yourself.
Yep, Allie Epstein, M1, very, very straight arrow, opposite of Brian.
Oh, but still very good friends. So there you go. Tasha, you want to introduce yourself?
Did you say me? Sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, sorry. My name's Tasha. I only heard the at the end. Anyway, okay. My name's Tasha. I'm an M1. I'm from kind of all over, but technically Scottsdale, Arizona. And I went to Bowdoin College for undergrad, and I took 2 gap years.
Connor, you want to go next?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Connor. I went to Michigan State, and then I also took 2 gap years.
Anjali.
I'm Anjali. I went to undergrad at VCU. I'm an M1 and I didn't take any gap years.
And last but not least, Mark.
All right, hey everyone, Mark, M1 as well, went to Northwestern for undergrad and also took 2 gap years.
Great.
All right. So yeah, so I think, like we said, this is kind of the special interest one. So we have a bunch of students here. This can either run itself and you guys can feel free to ask questions to these folks, but I thought a good way to kind of kick it off is we can dish it to each of our panelists to kind of briefly highlight the different groups that they are involved with. So if any of you want to get started, we can just kind of talk about roles in which your specific roles in your special interest group.
Yeah, I can go first. So I am on the leadership team for a couple different interest groups. I think the one that keeps me primarily the most busy is the family medicine interest group. But I'm also on the leadership for the psychiatry interest group, the lifestyle medicine interest group, and then I randomly decided to help out my roommate on the meditation and medicine interest group. So a lot going on there. Keeps me nice and busy, but it's really cool how you can kind of hone in on your interests and find groups that are like dedicated towards that and either be a member or hop into leadership. And hopping into leadership definitely gives some really cool connections to people like in the CASE community, like physicians and other people doing stuff like that you're interested in. So yeah, is there anything else I should talk about for that, Brian?
No, that's great. Thank you, Connor.
Allie, you're muted.
I said, Mark, do you want to go next?
All right, cool, yeah. Oh yeah, so I'm a dance director for Doc Opera. If you have questions about Doc Opera, I just like dance, but yeah. What else? I'm on the leadership team for anatomy camp where, we just go out or bring students from local middle school, high school students, teach them anatomy concepts, teach them some physical diagnosis sort of skills or whatever, just to expose them to, STEM fields. I'm for co-president for SNMA LAMSA. Just got questions about that. I could talk about that. And also a new group called SPOT, Sun Protection Outreach Program, teaching students. I think it's the whole acronym is, but but yeah, we just go to schools, teach them about sun protection for the skin, stuff like that. So yeah, if you got questions about that, just let me know. But like Connor said, it's given good connections to get into the community, working with, for me, I like working with kids. So like being able to work with, the students within Cleveland, it's been kind of cool. But all the other clubs, just been able to work with different physicians and residents here and there. So it's just really cool. So feel free to ask anything about them.
Awesome. Anjali?
I'm the block 4 leader for the Student Committee on Medical Education, which is just like a student council that helps with different like curricular changes. I'm one of the co-leaders for Horizons, which is kind of similar to what Mark does. It's like an outreach program that brings high school students in. We connect them with undergraduates, medical students, and residents and like families. That's been like a really rewarding interest group. And I'm also one of the co-leaders for the cardiology group.
And Tasha?
Yeah, so like Allie and Brian, I'm also one of the students on the student committee for admissions. So that's been really fun. I'm also one of the co-leaders of the internal medicine interest group, as well as the cardiology interest group with Anjali. Also, if you guys decide to come here, you'll see me a lot during orientation week because I'm one of the incoming peer handoff leaders. So that's like running kind of the student side of orientation. So that's really fun. I also kind of gotten involved with the undergrad campus. I'm one of the volunteer assistant coaches for the undergrad women's tennis teams, which is fun. I played tennis in college. And then I'm also one of the co-leaders of this new, relatively newish program that's working with one of the local elementary schools to kind of introduce tennis into like the community, as well as help the kids with like reading and other things, which has been really fun and also a good way to connect with the community and meet a lot of new people. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah,
Great.
so as you can see, a lot of very diverse and unique opportunities for students to get involved with on campus and in the community. So yeah.
So I actually, I think Brian asked me a question in the chat that I'll ask to you guys, and we can just answer your questions. And if there are no questions, we can propose some to our panelists that we have ready to go, because if you guys are here, I assume you have some questions. But Brian asked, would love to hear more about the cardiology group and what gets discussed, / how deep on the topic it goes. So I guess it's more directed to Anjali and Tasha.
I can start. So whenever kind of the transition happens from the M2 to the M1 leaders, that happens like right before the M2 start setting for steps. So we've honestly only been leading it for like a month or two. But something that's cool about the interest groups, especially the kind of pre-existing interest groups, is that there's usually already some programming in place. So there's already certain things like we already do an EKG and an echo workshop every year. And it's just kind of a matter of like picking a date and planning it. But then there's also an opportunity to do new things and like other things that maybe previous years haven't done. Like we're thinking about starting a cardiology elective. So we'll see if that happens. But yeah, that's just kind of an intro. Anjali, if you want to talk more.
I feel like you pretty much summed it up because we haven't had too many like sessions that we run by ourselves. But yeah, there's a lot of leeway to like introduce new things. Like Tasha was saying, we're trying to do like a Women in Cardiology Day, like introduce an elective. There's a lot of things that you can do with the interest group. Yeah, and the M2s like give you a lot of guidance as well.
Thank you both. Another question in the chat: is it common for interest groups to have tangible impacts on the curriculum? Feels like, yeah, let our fearless leaders address it.
Yeah, so I'm the block 4 leader for the like block 4 is just like the cardiology group, so maybe this is like relevant, but students have a lot of feedback opportunities for curriculum change. So multiple times each block, student feedback is taken into consideration by faculty. They hold like open Zoom meetings. Interest group leaders can attend those meetings and speak out about what they're interested in. I know like the cardiology interest group is making like an EKG workshop, which is led by one of the cardiology block leaders. So that's like some overlap between curriculum and interest groups.
Yeah, and I would add on to that too by saying that I know it's kind of outside of special interest group, but curriculum changes don't necessarily start and stop with special interest group leaders either. There's a Block 4, and Anjali's leading a lot of them. The Block 4 curriculum like feedback sessions are open to all students to come in and basically provide their feedback. So there's opportunity for students, and they listen to you a lot. I mean, you heard Dr. Amy earlier talking about the Anki deck that's going to be getting introduced this next week for us about pharmacology. So yeah, we're getting a pharmacology Anki deck that is like from faculty for us, which is kind of cool. So they really take into consideration ways that we learn and like things that we find useful, and they try to utilize that and help us get the most out of our curriculum. So yeah, it's definitely possible to have input in that respect.
Yeah, I think I can just follow that too. I think there's like ways to do like both, like within the interest group and then just on your own. So I know like a lot of the surgical interest groups have like electives that they run every single semester, like the surgical skills elective. And then, but I think if you have like ideas about the curriculum, there's like the pathway, the medical education pathway, where you can like be more involved with Dr. Amy. And also if you just like email them, like me and another M1 wanted to improve the nutrition curriculum in our block 3 because it was really not great. And so we're meeting with Dr. Amy, and we're going to propose some new ways to teach that. So I think there's a lot of opportunity that doesn't have to go through a specific group. And if you have the ideas, there are definitely people that are willing to listen to you and give you that time. So.
And I guess just to add on, going along with like the cardiology group is trying to make a cardiology elective. I know like the dermatology interest group is trying to make a dermatology elective, and the pediatrics group has a pediatrics elective. And there's definitely ways where like it's not directly in our curriculum set by the school, the interest groups can be involved in kind of like adding and shaping what people are actually interested in. Because I know like my sister who's interested in dermatology is like, I don't really know that much about it. And when I go on rotations or like if I'm shadowing, I want to sound more educated as a first year. So like opportunities like that. So that way we can kind of be more well-rounded also medical students. So that's another way that kind of these interest groups can help shape curriculum.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you all. Okay, so another question from the chat. How do you guys juggle everything, and about how many hours would you say you dedicate to your special interest groups?
Yeah, I can talk about that real quick. So I mean, I think it varies so much depending on what interest group you're a part of. Like even the ones that I'm on, like I can maybe only have to think about it, you know, once every 2 weeks. Something may only happen like 3 times a semester, something like that. But like other groups, like for me, SMA Labs, so just like that does take up a lot of my time, just like meeting with faculty every week and meeting with other people. So it really just depends on the group specifically, the commitment. But then what I think a theme that goes through all the interest groups, it's as much as you want to put into it too. And so like you said, like if you guys become leaders for a group, you can just do what they did last year. You can do less if you thought things didn't work, or you can do more. So it's going to depend on how much you want to put into it to, you know, gauging your own bandwidth and how to actually juggle that. I mean, you just gotta, Google Calendar is a good friend. Just really making sure you keep track of that. And I was really resistant to it, but there's too much going on in med school to not have everything sort of written down when you have to be places. So, and just being realistic with yourself and your bandwidth, you know, like don't just sign up for things just to sign up, you know, like have that passion, let that follow through. And I think, you know, you should be fine. And I know you've heard about it probably through interviews and all that, but case, I think the strongest part of case is really the autonomy and the schedule, right? So then you can really make sure that you make it to what's going to work for your schedule. So,
yeah.
But so for hours, I'd say probably like, for me, probably like 10 hours a week I gotta put in. Yeah.
I agree. It definitely depends on the group. Also, for most, especially of the case med specific groups, you're usually not the only leader. I'm not gonna say you're never the only leader because I don't know all of the groups, but for example, the cardiology, for example, since we've talked about that, there's 5 leaders. So if you have a really busy week, you like or 2 weeks or however long, like there can be things that you're not involved in, or, one person's booking the room, one person's ordering food, one person's communicating with our faculty leader. Like you are not probably not involved in like every single thing that the interest group is doing. So I think that's really nice that you can be flexible, that you can say, hey guys, I have a really busy week. Do you mind kind of taking point on this project or whatever that might be? And then also a lot of the groups might be busy at different times of the year. So like tennis for me is really busy in the spring, but then all during the fall, it's not busy. But then during the fall, that's when my admissions responsibilities will be busy. So I think just finding things that maybe line up nicely is helpful, but I agree, not more than like a couple of hours a week. I don't think that it like interferes. If anything, it's kind of a nice break from learning about all of the fun biochem pathways or whatever you might be learning at the time.
And then I guess just to give like a general overview of how special interest groups work. So it's not like it's like a club in undergrad where you have a weekly meeting or anything like that. It's more like they help plan events for like certain fields or specialties in medicine. And so that's why there's like a lot of different groups, and like they all plan kind of match panels this time of year. Like almost every single interest group has had a match panel with M4s who have matched and things like that. So it's not like a super intensive commitment sort of thing. It's like depending on it's whatever you want to make of it. So I know that was a question, kind of how they're run, and to give it a little general overview.
It's as simple as just joining an email list. That's it.
And that's a great segue. So that it does depend on what the special interest groups. So for example, with like the specialty related ones, so like cardiology, family medicine, those things. Yeah, it's as simple as joining an email list and basically just says my internet connection's unstable. So if you can't hear me, let me know. But it's as simple as just like joining different sessions and seminars and things like that when they bring in guest speakers to talk to the interest group about different paths and career options and opportunities in that particular field. And then things there's like with the meditation and mindfulness one, that's more so just like fostering a place for physical, mental, emotional well-being and things like that, and taking care of that aspect of yourself and just connecting with people that have similar and like-minded interests and things like that. So it's really different depending on what the specific interest group is. But yeah, I mean, again, like Mark said, you can make the most out of it and you can make it what you want it to be. In terms of putting however much time you want into it. So we have another question. Have you found that interest groups help set up students with alumni mentors for research or to help with residency? I will start by taking this. Sorry, I know I'm not on the panel, but given one of my roles, I'll take this for a second. So yes, and also there's a position in the medical school as part of the committee for student representatives. There's an alumni chair, which I currently hold, which helps connect the student population and student body to the alumni community. That person, so I sit on the medical alumni board, and really my main job is just fostering community and connection between the alumni and current students, and helping keep things up to date and keeping alumni plugged in. And helping organize like alumni weekend and all that, and connecting people. But yeah, I would say a big part of it too is maybe not as much alumni, but more so current practitioners and current physicians in that space to come in and speak with students. And a lot of time there is a really, really high population of physicians at the clinic, at UH, at all these hospitals in the Cleveland area that did do their medical school at Case Western. So sometimes there will be a decent amount of physicians that come speak to students who did do their training at Case Western. So in that case, yeah, they are going to be alumni, but I'll let other people talk. But yeah, there is a person specifically right now that helps connect people with alumni. So I don't know if anybody else wants to address that question, but no. Okay.
I can add on real quick, I guess. I don't know, like I'm not so sure about the alumni specific part, but I do know a lot of the interest groups have like direct connections to mentorship just in the specialty that they are representing. So a lot of like if you join them, a lot of them will offer like shadowing or connecting you with a mentor. So there are ways to like get plugged into especially physicians at like CCF and UH and Metro and stuff through those groups.
Yeah. And I know the orthopedic group actually has, or the sports medicine group, or one of the two of them. I'm not involved with it just because I don't think it's something I'm going to go into, but I'm pretty sure they have a specific special interest like group for connecting students with research mentors and research opportunities, just because orthopedic and all those sorts of things are a little bit more competitive fields than others. So it's important that students do have access and opportunity to get involved with research at an earlier stage so that their applications to residency are a little bit more competitive. But yeah, those sorts of things exist, and they're pretty abundant at Case, to be totally honest. So
I think also a lot of that, whether it's through direct mentorship, there's a lot of different, we call it speed dating, like speed mentoring. So I know cardiology hosted that. The school hosted a speed mentoring session as well with representatives from pretty much every single specialty. So that's another way to meet people. But then also a lot of the different, I don't want to say seminars, but like activities that the special interest groups plan. A lot of times they'll bring residents or attendings or other people to kind of help facilitate that. Like, I'm just going to talk about the EKG workshop because it's next week, but it'll be like attendings as well as residents that are coming in and helping all of us read EKGs. But that's also really great time to connect with attendings and residents and kind of meet people that can serve as your mentor. So even there's unofficial ways to meet those people as well.
is that what you made me sign up for as an SP?
No, that's the internal med ultrasound one. But you should come to the EKG one because it'll help you on your exams.
No. Well, thank you very much for addressing that, Tasha. Yeah, I would say, yeah, I think that addresses.
I have a little something to add. And it's also like all of these people that do come and help out with the interest events, if they're here talking to medical students, they clearly have an interest in you. So they are like good people to reach out to. Like they wouldn't be coming and teaching at these events if they didn't have an interest in like medical education, that sort of thing. So they're normally like a very good resource. Like I found a mentor and I shouted a pediatric cardiologist after he spoke at the pediatrics elective hosted by the pediatrics interest group. These people want you to come and shadow them because they have some stake in your education and because you might be their resident one day and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And then yeah, the only other thing to add, like I said, all the panels and stuff, again, like Ali said, like they're coming to speak to you. So those are great times to go talk to them. Again, it may not be specific to alumni, but there's still going to be people that you can reach out to get research, to get just help with, on that road to residency. And like for the group for SMA Labs, like we have 4 conferences a year that the school helps fund. Like it costs like $10,000 to $15,000 to get, 20 students there. But, at these conferences, we're able to meet with not just, again, Case alumni, but around the nation, all the bigwig doctors that you want to try to connect with, make those connections with. So again, it's going to be group dependent on what's happening, but I do think that a lot of these interest groups are set up to help make the connections in the end.
Yep. Thank you, Mark. Well, thank you all for contributing to that. I think we've addressed a lot of the questions that Ali and I came up with, but one that I think is important to address, just so you all know exactly what to expect when you do get here, if you end up coming to Case, is how do you find these groups that you're now a part of? So talk about how you got involved with them initially, and then how you got those leadership positions. This can be anywhere from just like a listserv or the activities fair. So if anybody wants to kick it off.
I can start really quickly. I feel like they send, just generally the interest group sends so many emails of different things to apply to, especially around the times that the M2s are transitioning to studying for STEP. So it's just every single day, I feel like you're getting an application of some leadership thing to apply to. So there's definitely no shortage of things. But in terms of just kind of like at the beginning, when I first got to school, I just basically signed up for like every single listserv because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And then I found myself never going to anything from the psych interest group. So I like took myself off that list and kind of slowly started doing things that way. But I feel like at the beginning, I was really nervous of like, I need to get leadership positions. So I'm going to like apply for everything, not realizing that like there are going to be 40 more things that you can apply for later on, and to actually truly apply for things that you're interested in. But I would say as long as you're just like on the listservs, you will get those leadership applications. There's specific things, like for example, the admissions committee that is an application to send out to everybody, but they look at, how many Q&A sessions have you done, things like that. So you have to kind of be involved in the groups that you then want to serve as a leader for. I think that's the case for most leadership positions, honestly. Like, you need to go to the group's events if you want to be the leader of it. But I think I don't know. I think you end up like going to things that you're interested in. So it works out. But yeah, that was how I did it.
Yep. And I can say, so at the beginning of the year, when you first get here, within the first month or so, there's a student activities / involvement fair, where literally every single interest group and every single club, organization, whatever it may be, is represented. And it's basically set up in multiple rooms throughout the HEC, and yeah, in different rooms and stuff. And they're basically just have stations set up where you can go talk to the current leaders and talk about what they do and just hear about their kind of goal and activities and events that they have and opportunities for you to get involved. And whatever ones you're interested in and like and vibe with, you can sign up for their listserv. They all have like QR codes and things like that, where you can just take a picture, put in your email, and you're on their listserv. So that's really how like the initial involvement gets started. And that's like right when you get to campus and right when you get here at Case. And it can seem a little overwhelming because there are so many interest groups, but I also think that's kind of comforting because it shows me and tells me that like Case really appreciates like catering to the interests that their students have. And if there is an interest group that you want to be a part of that doesn't necessarily exist, you can entirely create that on your own. And they give you a lot of freedom and ability to be able to do that, which I think is really, really nice. And we've seen a handful of student groups get started by some of our classmates in this first year, just because they've gotten an idea that they're passionate about and they've run with it. I know one of Connor and I's friends started a knitting club, and just like things like that. So like literally any sort of interest that you want, or have and can connect with other people in your class or across the medical school that may have that similar interest, you can start it. There's the ability to do that, which I think is really, really cool. So. Any other questions that y'all have? I know we only have about a couple minutes left. So with that being said, in the interest of time, I will say thank you all for joining us. I hope this was helpful. Yeah, Case is a wonderful place, I will say, in terms of really having the best interest of its students at heart and catering to things that they are interested and passionate about and allowing them to run with those ideas. We have a lot of really, really innovative and creative people in this class of M1s in our peer group that have really, really great and exciting ideas for their specific interest groups that they've joined, as well as create new interest groups that they're running with and making their own. So it's a really exciting place to be in terms of just making the most out of your medical education, and really being able to shape your future career how you want it to be shaped. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. I'll drop my email in there as well. But yeah, thank you all for joining, and I hope you got something out of this.
Bye, guys. Thank you all so much. It was so nice to meet all of you, and I hope to see you all here in the fall.
/summer. I'll be here this summer.
Oh, / summer. Yeah, we'll all be here this summer.
Yeah, we'll all be here this summer. Bye.
Thank you, panelists. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Brian and Allie, for moderating.
Got it.
We'll see you guys.